ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling it for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the Coin Flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob Zimmerman.
Flip it again.
And welcome on back to the Coin Flip Podcast. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly. We are here to discuss our Week 8 predictions in the National Football League. Once again, back within the episode, we halted our NFL talk momentarily to cover the start of the NBA. Martin, you know that I have been keeping a close eye on how things have unraveled the last 48 hours or less in the NBA. We were recording this on a Thursday night. This will likely get uploaded on Friday. So the Thursday night football game is in the books. We don't know who won, but me and Martin both picked the Bills. But first, we got to cover Week 7. Martin, as always, I'm looking forward to your thoughts on Week 7 in the National Football League.
I don't know what happened. The Bills and the Patriots game, I'm still trying to wonder about that one. That was one heck of a finish. The Eagles-Miami game had its controversies, had its moments in that game, and kind of head-scratching. I don't know where the Baltimore Ravens finally came out of anywhere with that offense. I was shocked by how they destroyed the Detroit Lions that bad. Trying to think of any other games that were exciting. The Vikings and the Niners game, that was an exciting one. The Bucks and the Falcons, the Bucks kept trying to win that game, and the Falcons tried to win that game as well, and it just turned into a normal NFC South middle of nowhere type game. The same thing with the Washington Giants game. That was such a mess. The Cleveland and Coles game, I don't know what that was either. That was I just entirely the week was completely head scratching, but entertaining in the same sense. Not like in a bad way, but like in a way it was just like you kept looking at the screen going, wait, what happened? And you saw the replay and you're like, wow, that happened? And then, yeah, that's the only way I can describe it.
An interesting description there from Martino. I'll break it down myself. Martin, some games that stood out to me, the Browns and the Colts, nobody thought we'd get a total near 80, 77 to be exact, with these two squads. No, I mean, you couldn't even bet that. It was too impossible to happen. Martin, I'm going to take a quick victory lap here, predicting the Patriots as 7.5-point underdogs as the closing spread to beat the Bills. But Martin, me and you both had 4 underdog hits, as I kind of messed that up. I'll switch that around at some point. 4 underdog picks, which were, Martin, me and you, even Nay included. We got to mention Nay was our guest last week. We all got the Jags as underdogs correct. Martin, I got the Pats and the Giants as underdogs. You picked the Bears, and once again, Martin, your homer pick paid off with Chicago. The Falcons, me and you both saw that coming. That was a toss-up. And the Steelers are a pretty solid squad, it's looking like, after all, that you got correct.
5.
What's that?
I got 5 of them because the Vikings were underdogs to San Francisco.
You're correct, Martin. You are correct. Good job. Good eye, Martin. Speaking of that game, I said that San Francisco was going to be a massive favorite and win even bigger and cover, and that did not happen at all. Martin, you were spot on with this one. So kind of tell me, how did you see the Vikings winning? Did you look into the crystal ball?
I don't know if it was a crystal ball. I guess the way the Niners played against the Browns that week when both Debo and when Christian McCaffrey went down, it looked like Brock was a little lost in how to process the offense for once in his entire career. And it was kind of a little shocking to see. So I'm like, Well, the Vikings defense isn't terrible. They just don't have a consistent offense that's been able to keep up. They've been in games all year, and they didn't do so terrible against the Chiefs, and they didn't do so terrible against the Eagles, two teams that were pretty damn good. So why not just take a chance? I didn't think it would actually work. I didn't think Jordan Addison would turn into a DB and steal an interception away from Ward and turn that into a touchdown. That was amazing to see. I don't know if it was a crystal ball, Jacob. I just think the fact that Brock Purdy didn't have a solid receiver that I think he trusts a lot, or just the fact that maybe a defense finally figured out how to defeat Brock Purdy because Kittle, Ayuk, McCaffrey, I mean, besides McCaffrey's rushing touchdown, they all were kind of silent in their own ways. And I don't know, maybe the armor that protected the Niners is kind of falling apart. Maybe.
Well, Martin, to continue on here in the Coin Flip podcast, you won Week 7. Congratulations. I believe this is your second win. You won back in Week 5. We had a couple ties in there, but congrats, Martina. One of your better weeks. You went 9-4, kind of in a short week to our standards with just 13 games. There's now 16 matchups. Nobody has a bye in Week 8. Some crazy stuff I haven't seen in over a decade. Martin, you are sitting a little bit more comfortable over the 500 mark now. You're 57-49, but I still have the lead with a 67-39 overall record. That's picking every single game money line outright, flat out throughout the season up until this point. And Nay got a nice warm welcome to the Coin Flip podcast on the guest appearance back in Week 7 last week. Martin, I hope you send this one over to Nay so he can see how he did, but he might not be too proud of himself. The only ones he got correct were the picks that we all went down on together, which all hit. So when we all agreed, we were all correct. And Martin, the only game that we all whiffed on was, of course, Nay's Lions getting absolutely stunned and stomped out by the Baltimore Ravens. But without further ado, Martin, with you having maybe your best week when it comes to, if you were putting real money down, you would have definitely won money last week with all these picks, given that your underdog ratio is pretty darn high. But without further ado, Martin, let's move on to Week 8 as I get this changed up on the spreadsheet. Martin, the Bucks and the Bills are both in the books. I texted you, or not quite in the books, but they're playing as we're recording this right now, kind of getting a late posting. Martin, we both picked the Bills beforehand. I made sure to text you before the game since we knew our circumstance. But our first game, we're going to pick the Pats at the Dolphins, Miami minus 9.5. Martin, who's going to win this one?
Considering the game is in Miami and considering what we saw with the Dolphins, that the road is not their friend for right now, considering they're 0-2 in 2 crucial games. Nonetheless, Patriots have struggled in the past against Miami down in Miami. I expect them to struggle again. I expect Miami to go off. This is the Dolphins.
Martin, I got to agree with you. The Dolphins, had a letdown last week. Or a close, Yeah, it was a letdown against Philadelphia on the road. I was looking at the Patriots last game for a moment. They're riding high. So you have a team that started out poorly with some momentum. You have a team that's started out great, now with a loss in a game that a lot of people thought they might win. It might even win big against the Eagles. It didn't happen. But ultimately, even with Mac Jones having some confidence, even with Belichick having a ton of film inside the AFC East, inside of his home division, Martin, that was the reason I picked them to beat Josh Allen last week. But it's not going to be the reason I picked them to win this week, because I'm not going to pick them at all. I'm picking the Dolphins as well. We are both rolling with the Fins. The Patriots can get things done when everything goes right for Mac Jones, especially when the other team starts off poorly. If Tua throws an early pick six, if the Dolphins fumble the football away, something like that, they get down early. That's the recipe for New England to win. But I think Tyreek Hill is due for another monster day. The days of Bill Belichick having a top 5 secondary in the league might be over. I'm rolling with the Dolphins, Martin. But moving on to the Jets and the Giants, a tale of New York. Martin, who wins the battle in the Big Apple?
I think I'm going to rock with the Giants on this one. I've been wrong about the Giants for the last 2 weeks. They're kind of controversy lost to the Bills. You could have said they could have won that game if they would have thrown the flag on the pass interference on Darren Waller in the end zone. So that could have possibly been a win over the Bills. And then their performance against the Washington Redskins, the Commanders, I apologize. The Giants didn't score a whole lot of points. They only scored 2 touchdowns in the game. But that defense stumbled and stifled and stopped every single drive that the Commanders had in that game when they were trying to go for the touchdown. I don't expect the Jets offense to be any better. I know everyone's giving Zach Wilson credit, but this Giants defense is going to get them. I believe in it. I believe Tyrod Taylor will squeeze out the lucky win Giants.
Rolling with the Giants is Martin Kelly. I, Jacob Zimmerman, will not agree. I'm going to roll with the Jets here, Martin. The Giants will have more fans, and they'll be at home. But I think all the talk this season that's been anything positive at all has been with the Jets defense, Martin, not the Giants. Darren Waller is a really nice target on the inside. Saquon Barkley, we know what this guy can do. He had a nice, thrilling touchdown last week. That was cool to see. But Daniel Jones is still your quarterback, and Daniel Jones only has 2 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions throughout the entire season. This is a perfect game for Robert Saleh's nasty, nasty defense. They maybe haven't been as excellent as they've been last year. There's been a lot more film on them. Teams can maybe find some gaps here or there, but I think this will be a low-scoring affair. Martin, the spread is just 3. That's Jets on the road. The over-under total is just 36.5, so Vegas agrees this will be a slugfest, a dogfight, but the Jets are going to pull it out. And Martin, I think Zach Wilson at this point might play better than Danny Dimes. So I'm rolling with the Jets, you're rolling with the Giants. On to 2 winning teams, Jags at Steelers. Martin, does Pittsburgh continue on in their recent success?
That's a good question. They didn't look terrible against the Rams. They did have moments where they were frustrated in their run and their pass game. Their defense played solid, but they did give up some moments in that game. The Jags, they looked okay against the Saints. Trevor Lawrence didn't look 100% when he was out there. There's a possibility he'll play. ETN played like ETN. I'll take another underdog here. I'll take the Steelers. I don't know if Trevor Lawrence will be fully healthy, and if he's not, I don't know who the backup quarterback is, and I don't trust him to beat the Steelers.
Sorry, you ready to resume?
Yes, I am.
So Martin is rolling with the Steelers, I think he meant to say, and I am rolling with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Martin, I drafted Trevor Lawrence in fantasy. I'm going to reset the timer here. Martin, I drafted Trevor Lawrence in fantasy for a reason to start the year. I think this guy will close strong like he closed strong last year, and he's kind of been sneaky good. He hasn't really been in the media a ton when it comes to stellar performances. He's kind of just got the job done. That's kind of what you need to do against a dangerous Pittsburgh Steelers defense. You don't need to go out there and try to do too much. Rely on ETN. He's been hot. He's been scoring numerous touchdowns a game as of late, 7 total on the season. Through 7 games played, that's a pretty darn good ratio if you're anybody other than Christian McCaffrey in the NFL right now. Only 3 picks for Lawrence, 4 picks so far for Pickett, but the yards aren't very close in T-Law's favor. I know Najee Harris has kind of reestablished himself as of late, and George Pickens is the flat-out best receiver in this game. He's been performing way better than Calvin Ridley. And even though the defense goes to the Steelers, Martin, I just have a gut feeling the Jags are going to find a way to improve to 6-2. It's really tough in my head to see the Steelers being 5-2, to see them jump that far ahead into the win column. So I'm going to roll with the Jags. Going on to the Falcons and the Titans, Martino. This is kind of another stinkfest tale of two very, very mediocre teams. Who wins this one? Did the Titans get it done at home?
No, like the Titans will not win at home. I'm gonna take the Falcons on the road here. I don't know what it is. This Spencer Ritter decent offense with London and Pitts and Robinson and Algier. It worked out pretty well with Tyler Algier carrying the rock mostly this week. I'm not sure what happened to Bijan Robinson and this illness that forecame before the game started. A lot of game bettors and fantasy draft owners were not happy after they were like, "Oh yeah, we can start Bijan Robinson," and Bijan Robinson did not play at all. That was frustrating to just see that go down as it did. Give me the Falcons. I think they're better than the Titans. They're trying to trade Hopkins. They're trying to say they won't trade Henry. This team is imploding. This team is done. The Falcons on the road.
Martin, I think that is a good call to roll with the Falcons. It looks like the Falcons, their kind of game is this low-scoring, time of possession, hold on to the ball, don't turn it over, establish your run game. They're that kind of team, and that's how they win these football games when Desmond Ridder is their starting quarterback. Martin, you mentioned a really good point with the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel is 100% the best coach in this game, but it may not look like it with the total dysfunction that's going on the offensive side of the ball there in Tennessee. DeAndre Hopkins. We all know that the minute this guy signed with the Titans, he was probably going to get traded this season, or he wouldn't even, go on to play a second season for Tennessee. Tannehill, his days as a starter in the National Football League, I think they're done, unless for it's a team that's somehow even worse than the Titans right now. Malik Willis, Will Levis, both of these guys are just not quite ready to produce anywhere, towards a winning level at all. And Martin, if you're going to be starting a quarterback like either of those two I mentioned, it's time to get Derrick Henry the heck out of there. I'm going to roll with the Falcons as well. I hope Henry gets traded before the deadline to a contender. He certainly deserves it for all the hard work he's put in on a team like this. But I'm going to roll with the Falcons in another maybe 13-10 final. Martin, on to the Texans and the Panthers. Do the Panthers go to 0-9?
Unfortunately, they will. I mean, this is going to be obviously the conversation will be the battles of the rookie quarterbacks, 1 and 2, C.J. Stroud. Obviously, everyone's forgetting that the third overall pick is in this game, as well as Anderson on the defense, who's having a pretty decent rookie season. The real point is the Texans are the better team. Offensively, they're more organized. The Panthers are switching from head coach to the offensive coordinator to call plays. I mean, they did have the week off. Let's see what the OC can call. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's more hybrid. Maybe it's more fast than the offense that Frank Reich's been calling. But I just don't see them overcoming the Houston Texans defense, and I think the Texans do enough on offense to win this game. Give me the Panthers.
Sorry, I got
Excuse
ahead
me.
of myself with the
Texans.
with the Panthers. Yep, you mean the Texans. I got ahead of myself with the Panthers. I just assumed they're already 0-8 because they're that bad. Martin, they're only 0-6 at the time we're recording this video. They're soon to be 0-7. There's not much more to say with the Carolina Panthers other than I think, Bryce Young is going to be legit, but it's impossible to see that right now with the absolute number one worst offensive line in the NFL. There's a lot of bad ones, Martin. There's been a lot of bad ones that you've had to witness through the last couple of years, that I've had to witness through the last couple of years, but it's becoming just so apparent that, our first-round left tackle, all the guys that we've signed, they just have not been able to produce at the level of expectation, and our play calling has not been able to work around that. Frank Reich is dishing off the play calling to another member of the coaching staff. That has been maybe the brightest sign we've seen in some weeks for the Panthers. And if there was going to be a game against a team that was, somewhat decent, that they could pull off a big upset, I would see it being this game, actually, Martin, due to the, the switch in play calling, teams maybe not having a week to adjust to that. But the Panthers, all in all, As hopeless as they can look offensively, this defense was actually supposed to be, pretty decent around the top 10 area, top 12. But Martin, when you're missing 4 of your best 5 defenders, it's just not going to happen. The Panthers may only win about 2 or 3 games tops this season. I'm rolling with the Texans. On to the Rams in Dallas. Is LA going to get a win on the road in a big time battle of 2 major markets? Dallas is a 6-point favorite though.
This is a tough call, and this is probably one of the toughest calls this week, just due to the fact that you could take the Rams off of just their solid performance. They didn't get it done against the Steelers. They had a chance to win that game, but offensively, they did enough in that game to do something. Their defense just gave up a couple touchdowns late. Or you rock with the Cowboys. The Cowboys have done decent against teams that don't have good defenses or have subpar defenses. And in this case, maybe they do enough to protect Dak Prescott from Aaron Donald. I'll rock with the Cowboys just because it's a safe pick there. I want to rock with the Rams, but I just don't think their defense will be able to hold up. Maybe Dallas has finally learned from his mistakes. Maybe Mike McCarthy can get his head out of his butt and call a solid offense. I know it's not a whole lot of faith in the Cowboys, but I'll take the Cowboys.
So Martin's taking the Cowboys. Martin, one of my philosophies, and it's in a sport I don't know nearly as well as I know NBA and NFL, but MLB in baseball in the regular season, there's so many games, and Martin, these teams lose and win so many games. Their records are always at the end of the season pretty close to 500. I mean, you don't have a team, that goes 150 in 12 or 14 or how many total games there are in baseball. It doesn't happen. In the NFL, there's not that many games, but the philosophy is also kind of similar in the aspect when I see 2 teams that I feel are not super drastic in overall, from top to bottom, coaches, to the coordinators, to the players on the field and how they execute. I don't think Dallas is head and shoulders above a healthy Rams team at the moment. The Rams are on the road. Martin, the Rams are 3-4. The Cowboys are 4-2. In my head, I got to go back preseason. I said the Rams would hit their over on the regular season, and I think I said the Cowboys would maybe even hit under. So if I'm going to stay true to my word, Martin, I can't see the Cowboys being 5-2 more than I can see the Rams, being 3-5. So I'm going to go with the Rams to bounce back to 500, the Cowboys to drop a game. Martin, you're picking Dallas. I'm going with LA. But on to the Vikings and Packers, a showdown in the NFC North. You got to pick one of these guys.
Yeah, as we get the buzzer there here on the Coin Flip podcast, the Battle of the Southern Canada. Who am I going to take in this one? I'm going to go with the Vikings. That's the easiest pick probably in this entire week. I don't know what the heck the Packers offense is. Jordan Love is just throwing everything all over the place. It doesn't seem consistent. Everyone keeps talking about this and that and this. I don't know what it is. Their defense is solid. They're not that bad, but their offense, Jordan Love is just that bad, and it's fun to watch. And yeah, in the Battle of Southern Canada, I will give Minnesota the win.
You're rolling with the Vikings. I'm going to roll with the Vikings as well. Martin, a lot of people really got on the train early in the season of making fun of the Minnesota Vikings and kind of writing them off. Kirk Cousins put everybody on notice when everybody expected him to fail the most. And I mean, statistically, it wasn't a bad expectation of primetime Kirk to crumble. But Martin had arguably his best game of his entire career last Sunday, and I like the momentum from Kirk Cousins. The quarterback documentary got every one of us to respect this guy a little bit more. When you throw for 378, even on against a Niners team that doesn't have full health out there, the guys they were mostly missing were offensive guys for the Niners. That is, Martin. Even with the Vikings starting out 0-4, I believe it was. Or 1-4. Martin, they are on a 2-game win streak now. They got the Packers, Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, and Raiders all coming up over the next several weeks. Martin, they can win at least 4 or 5 of those and get right back in the playoff picture in the NFC, and it starts this week with the Minnesota Vikings. On to the Saints at the Colts. Who wins this one? Battle of a backup quarterback versus a soon-to-be backup quarterback.
I don't know what's wrong with Derek Carr. I defended him for a very long time and said, no, it's the Raiders. It's the Raiders, the entire situation of the Raiders. They're destroying Derek Carr. They haven't utilized him as well as he should be, and this Saints season is proving that I'm wrong. I don't know what's wrong with Derek Carr. Maybe he's overseasoned. Maybe he's past his ability to play in the NFL as a starting quarterback, but I think he's starting to turn into like an Andy Dalton type player where he's just going to bounce around for a while. I feel bad for the guy, but playoff and NFL success was not deemed for him. In this game, I'm going to take the Colts. This Gardner Minshew has, I don't know, resurrected this offense a little bit more. Maybe it's added more, accuracy in passing or decision making, but the Colts are flying. They came back and won against the Titans when Gardner Minshew came in the game. They fought against the Browns in a game they really should have won if they would have protected a little better on the offensive line and didn't give up so many points on the defense. Against a stagnant New Orleans offense, I'll take the Colts in an upset here.
Martin taking the Colts. It is a New Orleans 1-point spread right now on Thursday night. Martin, but I think this will be another spread prediction here from me. I think Indianapolis will actually be favored by the time these games roll around on Sunday afternoon. I'm going to take Indianapolis as well. Martin, I think Andy Dalton, you hit it right on the head. That is a perfect player comp. And when I really think about it, when I think back to how Andy Dalton did against Seattle this season, I even get creeps of thoughts of thinking that Andy Dalton could somehow outplay Derek Carr right now if he was on the Saints with the wide receivers they have. If Alvin Kamara happens to be behind you, if he happens to play, I mean, Martin, the Saints are loaded, whether we like to admit that or not. Derek Carr has just been a letdown. Their coaching has been a letdown. Even as bad as Sean Payton looks right now up in Denver, I'm sure they would much rather have him, the fans, back in New Orleans. I'm rolling with the Colts. So me and Martin are both rolling with Indianapolis. Martin, how about the Eagles at the Commies?
The Eagles and the Commies. Well, as much as I want to ring the bell for the Commies to end their season right now, I really wish someone would do that for them because this is just not a good season at all. Sam Howell is doing his best. They're calling a decent offense. The Giants just had them all day. I don't know if they were not able to figure out this man-to-man defense because they clamped them all over in a passing game. They weren't able to get anything done on the running game. They only got a few chances off of turnovers or mispossessions by the Giants, and just were never able to crack that end zone at all. And they only had one touchdown. So I don't know what happened to the Washington Redskins. For the Eagles, they've looked sloppy the last few weeks. They got a decent win over Miami, but I don't know what's wrong with them either. They're off to a shaky start or not looking like a dominant true team as they should. Eagles, no matter what, because they won't be overmatched by the Commanders, but both of these teams are sloppy. Both of these teams are going in the wrong direction. I don't know what they're doing, but the Eagles are lucky that they're talented enough to beat the Commanders because they both should be at what they should be, which is average.
You're rolling with the Eagles, correct?
Yes.
I will roll with the Eagles as well, Martin. Since they had their kind of big upset game just 2 weeks ago against the Jets, I don't think it'll happen twice in 3 weeks. So I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. Although this could be one of those games, if they had won that Jets game, Martin, and they were still undefeated, I think this would be a game where I would pick the Commanders. You kind of said the Commanders are having a pretty bad season. Martin, if my memory serves me correct, they were 6.5 regular season win total. in the betting projections before the season, so they're kind of right on pace to how Vegas and everybody thought they were going to do. This is a team that Sam Howell's been a nice story. He's playing above expectation given how low his expectations were. But now that he's maybe solidified himself as one of the 32 best quarterbacks right now on planet Earth, he's got to perform a little bit better. He's got to play up to the level of competition. But Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy, they just got to find a way to keep getting Terry McLaurin the ball. Take some notes from Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins. How about you put Terry McLaurin in motion and throw it to him in the flat when he's got a 10-yard head start on everybody else? How about you do some more creative screen passes to Brian Robinson Jr. Find a way to get Curtis Samuel a cup and open seam or post routes throughout the game. Just find a way to do something a little different. Your defense is probably a little overrated, but I'm going to roll with Philly. Don't overcomplicate this one. Although 7-point favorite on the road here, I would love the Commanders if we're picking spreads. We're taking money line, so I got to go with the Philly. Browns at Seahawks, Martin. The 12th man up there in Seattle. Is it enough against Joe Burrow?
The Browns versus the Seahawks. PJ Walker versus Geno Smith. I don't know what it is. These last 2 weeks, they've won with him. They got the lucky win over the Niners after Debo and McCaffrey got hurt. And then they had, obviously, whatever the heck that game was against the Colts, because it just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth so many times. That game was just... That was an awesome game to watch. On the road, you know what? Give me another underdog pick here. I'm going to take the Browns because I just believe that defense is better and can contain the Seattle Seahawks offense. I don't know if DK is healthy. I heard he's a maybe for this game. If that's the case, I don't believe Lockett and Joe Smith-Njigba is enough to win against the Browns. Give me the Browns.
I'm currently not seeing DK Metcalf, at least on the ESPN injury report, so I would guess he's good to go. But guys who are questionable, who are key, Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, Bobby Wagner. I can't believe that guy's still going strong. But Cleveland Browns, they have their injury questions too. I think I saw something today that PJ Walker is going to be the starting quarterback over Deshaun Watson. I don't know if that's an official benching. I know Deshaun Watson's kind of a little slightly concussed. Maybe not. You're missing some weapons out there. Ford's doubtful. Njoku's questionable. I imagine he and Kareem Hunt will find a way to step out there onto the turf. Martin, the Browns had one hell of a game. They played way above their standards. They scored 39 points. They're going to come back to earth this week. I got the Seahawks winning. Both of these teams are 4-2. Someone's going to take the conference, by surprise a little bit. Maybe the Browns more so than the Seattle if they win. It's the Cleveland Browns defense. It's PJ Walker. I'm not picking him to win. Sorry, I'm going with Seattle. On to Baltimore. 9.5 in Arizona. Who takes this?
I'll make this a quick one. It will be the Baltimore Ravens against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are just getting beat up every single week. I like Dobbs. He's a good story. He's a good kid. They have a decent offense. They didn't really do a whole lot against Seattle. They struggled offensively to get the ball out. Hollywood Brown did not have a good game. This is an easy one. Baltimore Ravens, they just light up teams. And if they can continue what they did against the Lions, this team is scary.
Martin, there's been kind of a wild trend that I've seen lately. I saw this post. It says the theme is that the most talked about NFL team kind of throughout the week after they had maybe their biggest performance, their biggest win against the best opponent that last Sunday, and they kind of become the talk of the NFL world. And that team is almost coincidentally pretty much lost, depending on who you think that team is, every single week the next week. Martin, I think it was the Lions last week. We were all raving about them. The national media was starting to put them, right neck and neck, maybe even above teams like the Eagles. That team now is the Baltimore Ravens. Hollywood Brown is back in his old stomping grounds, where he kind of first made a name for himself. Excuse me, he's facing against his old team. This is in Arizona, excuse me. This is a key performance for him to show out, for him to make, Lamar a little jealous on the sideline. This is one of the massive upset picks I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, Martin. I'm just going to close my eyes and hope I hit the bullseye on the dartboard with this one. On to Chiefs at Broncos. What happens here?
I'm still laughing in my head over that pick. It's the Chiefs. I'm not even going to give the Broncos a chance in this game. Their offense is all right. Their defense is all right. Andy Reid's about to show Sean Payne that if you are going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk. And so far, Andy Reid's backed up his shit for a very long time. Give me the Chiefs.
Martin, kind of the philosophy I had with my previous pick that you're probably still smiling about. A lot of people who are listening to it are still smiling about going with the Cardinals there. I picked the Patriots last week, and that happened, so you can't laugh at me if Arizona gets another one back-to-back on some more than a touchdown favorite. This might be a double-digit spread by game time in Arizona on Sunday. But Martin, the Chiefs will not fall victim to this. This is not going to be a trap game for them. I don't think they've ever lost to the Broncos with Mahomes. It's Mahomes in a divisional game. Don't overthink this. The spread could be a little iffy there at the end of the game. There could be a backhand cover, but Martin, flat out, outright, I'm going with the Chiefs. We're wasting no more time with this one. On to the Niners hosting the Bengals. We got to really see if Trent Williams is back. That's probably going to be their biggest loss if he's still out. But Martin, do the Bengals get it done?
Yeah, I actually do believe the Bengals will get it done. The Bengals had, I believe, last week off, so they've had a week to really study what the Niners have been doing, and they paid attention to the Monday night game, and they've been taking notes, and they're practicing to what they saw on Monday night. If they can create enough pressure and they can create enough chaos, actually see the Bengals going on the road and winning this game and getting some moral victory. The Bengals and the Niners, if you know true history about the football game, they've met in the Super Bowl twice, and obviously the Niners stole both games in the last couple of minutes. So a little moral victory for the Bengals to get something over the Niners would be nice. Wish it was a Super Bowl trophy, but it's not a Super Bowl trophy. Nonetheless, yeah, I do believe Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can go up to San Francisco and steal a win on the road.
I think I may have misspoke in a pick earlier. I think I was talking about the Browns, and I said Bengals and Joe Burrow. My mistake on that one. Here's Joe Burrow playing the 49ers. Martin, tough start to the season for Cincinnati, and it's not going to get much better with the schedule that they have. 49ers this week. The Bills next week. The Texans, who are sharp, the week after. Then you got the Ravens and the Bengals and the Jaguars. Martin, this is a disaster, nightmare schedule for the Bengals. They're going to have to hope that they split those games and close strong at the end of the season. But, I mean, the Steelers are back in there. The Chiefs are on the schedule for Cincinnati. The schedule makers were totally plotting for Cincinnati to miss the playoffs. And given that they maybe have the toughest schedule in the entire NFL, I think the odds of them making the playoffs are looking really shot. Unless they get a huge win here, this would be the week to do it. Their season might come down to this game, but I gotta go with the Niners, Martin. I don't think Kyle Shanahan is gonna accept Brock Purdy looking poor on back-to-back weeks. I think the 49ers will do 49ers things. Christian McCaffrey is going to score 3 touchdowns. He's going to go over a hat trick. Martin, on to the Bears and the Chargers. Martin, I'm penciling you in for the Bears right now, or typing. Explain why.
I'm not really going to give a whole lot of explanation on why. And No, I'm just kidding. I wanted to give a little pause there to make it seem like it. I'm choosing the Bears. I don't really care. I can throw those picks away. I'll love them no matter what. The Bears will be all right. I mean, the Chargers defense struggles against teams. I mean, they gave up a decent amount of points to the Vikings. They gave up a decent amount of points to the Dolphins. They gave a decent amount of points to everybody they see. It's a mess over there. Their offense is stagnant. As long as the Bears defense doesn't do a whole lot of crazy things, I think the Bears can still win on the road.
The Chargers should get this one done, Martin. 8.5 points, though, is ridiculous. Bears will cover that one all day. Brandon Staley's just a nutcase. I think this game will be close, but given that, I think there is also a small likelihood that Justin Herbert can just go berserk and throw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards. I see that a lot more likely than Tyson Bagent going 2-0. So I'm going to roll with the Chargers. On to our Monday night game, Raiders at the Lions.
You know what? I like that little Raiders. That was a good one right there. I did a terrible one. So Raiders fans are gonna hate me no matter what. The Lions, of course. The Raiders are a mess. I mean, honestly, if you can't beat the Bears, like what are you doing? I don't get this. I don't understand this. Just fire everybody. Just fire the entire team. Just I don't know what to do with the Raiders. Point is they won't beat the Lions. The Lions are the better team. They'll bounce back. This is a team they can mop the floor with, if I can actually pronounce it and say what I want. Lions win.
Man, from the quotes we've heard from Martin preseason to after that, one game where Fields threw for 300 yards to now Martin with the quote of the year. I mean, if you're losing to the Bears, fire everybody. What a quote there from Martin. Full circle moment. But waste no more time with this one. The Lions are going to bounce back. They feel humiliated. Everybody's coming out and saying they're just the old Detroit Lions. They might have a hot streak here and there, but they're going to end up being Detroit at the end of the day. And while we're not going to talk about postseason hopes, we're talking about Week 8. The Raiders are a complete laughingstock. Martin, I almost feel like they could take a quarterback off the street and the production wouldn't be that different. If you're just going to hand it off that many times, it's rough. It's rough there in Raider Town. The Raiders take another big fat L. Martin, that is Week 8 in the National Football League. No teams have a bye, so we're going to wrap things up here. I've been waiting to watch KD and Braun face off under the bright lights. Martin, any closing thoughts?
No, let's go watch this game because I'm about to turn that game on too.
That's the Coin Flip Podcast. Stay tuned for more NFL predictions and reactions next week, and we'll have another NBA video at some point soon. That's the CFP. I'm Jacob. That's Martin. See you.
Peace.